I can still vividly recall the first time I saw the picture of Tyke, the elephant that was killed in August 1994. What got my attention immediately at the time was the horrifying look in her eyes, the look that evoked a lot of mixed emotions within me. I wonder how she felt at the time. Was she mad? Was she scared? Did she feel desperate, disappointed, or deeply hurt? The picture might have been photoshopped to create such effects, but that picture really speaks thousands of words. According to later reports, Tyke was used as a performing animal for a circus in Honolulu, Hawaii for years. On August the 20th, 1984, during a performance, she killed her trainer and injured another person before escaping from the circus and ran to the streets. Local police then quickly approached her and killed her with 87 shots. Many people were shocked by the tragic killing of Tyke. Even though the animal killed a human being and injured some others, many people actually felt deeply sorry for the unfortunate fate of Tyke. Tyke was taken from her birthplace in Africa to become a performing animal at a circus. Not only was she separated from her home, from her fellows, she was also forced to perform tasks that were not in line with her natural instincts or preferences to please humans. Up to the day that she decided to flee from the circus, she probably might have been abused for a long time by trainers who would resort to any methods to force an animal to do whatever they demanded. But elephants can speak human languages, and we can't read their minds as well. Imagine how hard it was for her to try to understand what her trainers want her to do. Was she beaten if she didn't climb on a little tiny chair as her trainers demanded, just because she didn't understand what she was supposed to do with the chair? Was she left hungry if she couldn't stand on her 2 feet when her trainer asked her to? Was she chained to a small, dark stall full of feces? I read that elephants are highly social animals and they have very good memories. I wonder if she often cried alone at night, thinking about the family that she left behind in Africa. I wonder if she often thought about being able to go back home and reunite with her family. And if she had a baby, she must have missed her baby a lot. I don't know for sure how Tyke felt during the days that she was kept at the circus, but it seemed that she finally succumbed to the desire to be free from emotional and physical pains on August the 20th, 1994. There was a picture of her running on the street just minutes before she got killed by the police. She looked like she was rushing to run away from the hell that she had been in as quickly as possible. I imagine how beautiful it would be to see her to be wide and free like that in the nature. But no, she was running on the street, and she was considered to be posing a serious threat to humans by violating the rules that humans set out for her. And the punishment for such violations is merciless. She had to die with 87 shots. She was killed because she was considered to be crazy, too crazy to deserve an opportunity to live on. And she was crazy because she acted against the codes of conduct that humans tried to impose on her, irrespective of whether those codes of conduct were in line with her natural instincts or not. And there was no way she could speak up for herself. There was no way she could fight for her rights. Humans were much more powerful than she was. And as they say, the truth belongs to those who have power. Tyke was definitely not the only animal that has such an unfortunate fate. Many other animals were victims of abuses in different ways and then ended up getting killed, sometimes in brutal ways. For example, Mary, another elephant used as a performing animal at a circus in Tennessee. She was hanged to death after killing a person who was an unqualified homeless man recruited to ride her in a show and happened to touch her severely infected tooth, causing severe pain to her and triggering uncontrollable rage from her. Many times when an animal fails to behave in line with what the owner expects, the animal would be considered to be either stubborn, rebellious, or crazy, and therefore it would need severe punishment for its attitude. But most of the time, we could only see the crazy behaviors of those animals without being able to see the whole painful journey that those animals went through. And because animals cannot really speak for themselves, therefore, human beings resort to their dogmatic theories that the animals must be dangerous, crazy for behaving in such ways. And sadly, very sadly, it's not uncommon in our society that we human beings also treat other human folks in similar ways that we would treat the animals that we label as crazy. Most of the time, when someone does something that violates some sort of codes of conduct in our society, that person would immediately be labeled as bad, as immoral, as unethical, and therefore deserves some form of punishment. But it's just very sad that most of the time we only see the behaviors deemed as wrong by an individual and then quickly jump to conclusions about the qualities of that person without even wondering what has happened to that individual, leading them to engage in particular behaviors. If we come to know all of the behind-the-scene experience that a person has gone through, maybe we would end up having more love and sympathy rather than hatred and resentment to that person. In the movie Freedom Writers, which was based on a real-life story, we could see how a group of underprivileged students at a high school struggled in their study. They were viewed as rebellious, uncooperative, disrespectful, and just too dumb to study literature by some teachers at the school. They were considered as a shame that lowered the reputation of the school. At first sight, viewers would probably agree with those evaluations based on the language and the attitudes of those students. But as the movie rolled on, viewers could see the painful life journey that all of those students went through. A teen girl suffered from her father's frequent beating because she couldn't bring home enough money. A teen boy suffering from assault by growing up in a juvenile detention center. Or a homeless student who didn't know where she would sleep every night. Their personal experience was painfully atypical, so is it really rational to expect them to have typical behaviors that match the expectations of the society? As the movie illustrated, most of the time we just focus on the surface behaviors and then quickly jump to conclusions about qualities of people without even considering the heavy life luggage that some have to carry with them. And ironically, even though we can talk, we can communicate, we can understand the language of each other, for some reason, we still can't or don't want to seek to really understand the stories behind the people that we consider crazy in some ways. And when we choose to focus on the tip of the iceberg and ignore the significant body of the iceberg underneath the surface to rush to conclusions, we are prone to tremendous mistakes. And how can actions driven by mistakes cannot be crazy? Who is really crazy here? The elephant that tried to escape from humans' prisons and end its pains, or the humans who tried to force the animals to do things that the nature didn't mean for them to do, and then kill those animals if they fail to do what the humans want? Is it the student who suffers from abuses and challenging life circumstances to blame for his or her own failure at school, or is it the school that fails to help him or her succeed by choosing to focus on the grades and rules and turn a blind eye to a life story behind the grades? It's ironic that craziness in our society seems to have reached new levels with so many dimensions that sometimes it's hard to tell who is really crazy and who is not.